What can I say, boys? When I'm right, I'm right. And I was saying that there are rumors going around that the PlayStation 6, forget about it being no more, I still think it's going to be here. But it's going to land in 2027. They're going to push it aggressively to launch at the same time as Xbox to try and provide as much interference as they possibly can to continue their dominant hand, at least in terms of the market share. So we've recently seen this report, and it's kind of interesting because apparently a game was being developed in the Blade Runner universe. A PS6 game has reportedly been cancelled already. Now, this was in development from 2024. It was supposed to arrive for PS5 and PS6, and this whole cross-generational thing is going to be a big problem going forward, especially as people stop upgrading their hardware as it gets more and more expensive. So, yes, I can see the appeal to this, but it's hurting the next generation consoles. But we're going to see exactly what... I mean, this is already telling you that next generation Sony is going to have cross-generational games, but for how long? You know, how long before we're going to see the actual PS6 properly utilized? Because until they stop supporting the PS5, the PS6 won't get next generational games. They're going to be updating textures and ray tracing, but in terms of features and pure prowess, they will always be limited by the lowest denominating factor. And they're not going to create two different SKUs for the game because that would be costly beyond measure. So they're going to use the same base and just up it for the PS6. Not really what you want when you spend, £800 to £1,000 for a console. So as you can see here, Supermassive's PS6 game was supposed to launch in 2027. Now, I believe that this pretty much, to me at least, we've already heard rumors that the PlayStation 6 is landing in 2027. And this kind of is a slap in the face for those that, in my opinion, bought a PS5 Pro for 2 years. At least the PS4 Pro lasted, 3-4 years? But you're going to get basically around 2 years for your PS5 Pro. It feels a little dirty, but what can you say? The report is brought to us by insider Gaming's Mike Straw. Do note that the outlet is owned by a reliable insider, Tom Henderson, so we're pretty sure this rumor has been vetted. According to Insider Gaming, the game was titled Blade Runner Time to Live. Now, as a Blade Runner fan, I'm not a massive fan, but I enjoyed the Blade Runner movie when I saw it years ago, and I haven't seen the remake, to be fair. I've been told not to watch it because it will taint the original. I'm probably going to watch it at some point. And it was supposed to be a 10 to 12 hour single player cinematic affair, which is perfect, right? These type of games need to exist in this day and age because we sorely missed them. And it's a shame that this one got cancelled. Not only has it got a great IP, but it's, a 10 to 12 hour game which fits into that perfect niche of around, a price point at $49.99. Being Sony, they'll probably price it at $69.99. But that's the price point these games should be aiming for. The outlet claims to have seen a document describing Supermassive's Blade Runner as a compelling story blending the philosophical themes of Blade Runner with kinetic action-adventure gameplay. Pretty cool. I mean, we'll never know what it is, but at least it kind of tried to blend different styles to create a awesome experience. And, PlayStation fans do love their single-player cinematic experiences, so this would have been right up their alley, and mine too, because I do enjoy those games. Interestingly, the full release was planned for September 2027, which suggests that the PS6 may be targeting a full 2027 launch, which is what I was saying, right? I said that with Microsoft, their console was supposed to launch in 26, with it being pushed to 27. Sony was always aiming for a 2028, 2030 release, but with the limitations of the PlayStation 5 hardware already showing, and PS5 Pro has CPU limitations bottled in straight from the start, so those limitations are already being seen. PSSR is still in its infancy, it's still got a long ways to go. It's no surprise to me that those rumors that came out that Sony would be launching their PS6 in 2027 to rival that of what Microsoft is doing to compete with them is actually starting to materialize. And this kind of makes that rumor a bit more solidified. It's not definitive, but at the end of the day, where there's smoke, there's fire, and we're starting to hear, we're getting little trickles of information that show that Sony is potentially aiming for a 2027 release. For you PlayStation fans that are watching my video or hate watching it at this point, I have to ask, how do you feel about buying a PlayStation 5 Pro for £800, because you're going to buy it with the drive, so it's £800. How do you feel about your console lasting for 2 years? I know you can't include the PS5 previous duration, because that if you had your PS5, that would be different. You bought a brand new console, an upgraded console, and it's gonna last you 2 years. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like that's enough time to warrant for your purchase, essentially £400 a year? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Personally, I think that's too soon. 2028 should be the absolute earliest that we should see a PS6. At least let people get some value for their money. It continues 7 years after the PS5 launched. However, it's also possible that Blade Runner's PS6 release would have followed sometime later. As for why Blade Runner was cancelled, Insider Gaming source blamed rights owner Alcon Entertainment, but the outlet didn't say what exactly transpired between both parties. However, it did reveal the game was cancelled towards the end of 2024. What this is basically telling you is that there was some licensing agreement that they couldn't agree on, a fee or something to that effect. So the game being cancelled is pretty much because of that, not because of anything else. But what is interesting is that this game indicates that a 2027 full launch may have actually been a thing. Now, obviously, it shows that the PS5 version was supposed to land in 2027, in September. Normally, consoles come out in November, so a couple of months later, as they say, followed sometime later, would have made more sense, so they'd have a PS6 release with the launch of the console. I don't know, this is all sounding really, really interesting to me. A lot of people were saying there's no way that Sony would actually come out with the next console this early, especially after just releasing the PS5 Pro, but it seems like that is exactly what they're aiming for. It's interesting. I find it, a little scummy if that's really the way they're going. They should at least offer some discount to those people that did go out and buy the PS5 Pro if they are looking to pretty much abandon it after, 2 years, because the PS6 is just going to be bigger and better, right? But it's interesting. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Is Sony really going to do this? Is this really the path Sony is choosing? And if it is, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think about a now circulating PlayStation 6 releasing in 2027 alongside the next generation Xbox. Interesting times ahead, I must say. But with that said, if you've made it this far, do consider leaving a like, subscribe, hit that bell to stay up to date with all content I release. It is free. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps the channel. Around 75% of you are returning viewers who aren't subscribed. It would make the world of difference to the channel, to the YouTube algorithm, to opportunities for myself if you would actually subscribe. Like I said, it doesn't cost you anything, but it would mean the world to me. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to support me further, you can do that via the super thanks at the bottom of this video, or by becoming a YouTube member where you get content like this earlier than anyone else. That's it, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Until the next one, remain legend.